A $146 million transaction has just sent shockwaves through the Formula One paddock, and the identity of the mystery buyer could fundamentally alter the sport's power structure forever. Aston Martin Lagonda, the British luxury car manufacturer, has sold their entire 4.6% stake in the Aston Martin Formula One team for an eye-watering valuation that places the team at over $3.2 billion. What makes this deal extraordinary isn't just the astronomical figures involved, but the complete secrecy surrounding the buyer's identity in a sport where ownership is typically worn as a badge of honor. The timing of this transaction is nothing short of suspicious. Just 21 days ago, Christian Horner, the man who transformed Red Bull Racing into a championship-winning dynasty over 2 decades, was abruptly shown the door with no graceful transition or long goodbye. The official narrative pointed to internal politics and disagreements with Red Bull's new corporate structure, but mounting evidence suggests this story may be far more complex than initially reported. Lawrence Stroll, the Canadian billionaire who orchestrated one of motorsport's most remarkable transformations, purchased the financially collapsed Force India team for just $17 million in 2018. He rebranded it as Racing Point before merging the team's identity with the Aston Martin brand after investing heavily in the luxury car company. That modest $17 million investment has now become a $3.2 billion asset, representing an astounding 2,700% return in just 7 years. However, the real bombshell lies in the buyer's deliberate anonymity. In Formula One, ownership announcements are typically headline-grabbing affairs designed to project power and prestige across global media outlets. Yet this mystery investor has gone to extraordinary lengths to keep their identity completely secret until the deal officially closes. This level of discretion is virtually unprecedented in a sport built on public spectacle and corporate grandstanding. The legal framework surrounding Horner's departure reveals a crucial loophole that could explain this secretive maneuvering. Red Bull placed their former team principal on gardening leave, a standard practice that prevents him from joining rival teams until January 2026, just before the sport's next major regulatory overhaul. However, gardening leave specifically restricts employment opportunities while remaining silent on financial investments and ownership stakes. This distinction creates a narrow but legally viable pathway for Horner to acquire ownership in a competing team while still complying with his Red Bull departure terms. The timing of this Aston Martin deal, occurring barely 3 weeks after his exit, fits through this legal loophole with remarkable precision. Adrian Newey, the legendary aerodynamics designer behind every Red Bull championship, recently joined Aston Martin in a move that sent ripples throughout the paddock. Newey and Horner built their legacy together at Red Bull, creating the most dominant era in the team's history. Reuniting these two architects under a different banner would represent a formidable championship-caliber partnership with intimate knowledge of Red Bull's operational DNA. The Honda engine partnership adds another compelling layer to this theory. Starting in 2026, Aston Martin becomes Honda's official works team, replacing their current partnership with Red Bull. Horner was the key architect of the Red Bull-Honda relationship that dominated Formula One in the late 2000s and early 2020s, giving him unparalleled insight into Honda's corporate culture, engineering philosophy, and internal decision-making processes. Within the paddock, subtle but significant signals are emerging that suggest major changes are underway. Fernando Alonso, typically one of the sport's most vocal and politically engaged drivers, has maintained unusual silence regarding team developments. Honda executives have been attending Aston Martin meetings with far greater frequency than their current partnership level would normally require. Most tellingly, Newey, who is notoriously uninterested in corporate politics, has reportedly begun asking detailed questions about ownership structures and succession planning. The financial feasibility of Horner orchestrating such a massive investment initially appears challenging for a single individual, even one with his exceptional track record. However, after 2 decades leading one of Formula One's most successful operations, Horner likely departed Red Bull with a substantial severance combined with accumulated wealth from executive-level salaries, performance bonuses, and potential equity incentives. More importantly, Horner wouldn't need to finance the entire $146 million investment independently. His championship pedigree, deep industry relationships, and intimate knowledge of Formula One's operational complexities make him an extraordinarily attractive figurehead for wealthy backers. Private equity firms, motorsport-focused investment funds, and technology billionaires seeking credibility and influence in Formula One would readily supply capital if it means having Horner lead their venture. Aston Martin is already positioning itself for the 2026 regulatory reset with significant infrastructure investments. Their new $200 million factory at Silverstone represents one of the most advanced facilities in motorsport, complemented by a top-tier wind tunnel and engineering staff recruited from Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari. This foundation provides the perfect platform for someone with Horner's expertise to build another championship-winning operation. The 2026 regulation changes offer a rare opportunity where historical advantages disappear overnight, creating a level playing field where experience and strategic foresight become decisive factors. Horner brings not just operational knowledge, but intimate understanding of Red Bull's vulnerabilities, development cycles, and internal decision-making processes that don't appear on timing sheets. If this theory proves accurate, Red Bull may have committed one of the most catastrophic strategic miscalculations in modern Formula One history. They haven't simply lost a team principal, they may have created their most dangerous future competitor. Horner possesses comprehensive knowledge of Red Bull's operational DNA, from technical development cycles to internal politics and strategic vulnerabilities. The strategic implications of this potential Christian Horner acquisition extend far beyond a simple business transaction, representing what could become Formula One's most calculated and personal vendetta in recent memory. Lawrence Stroll, now 65 years old, has already committed hundreds of millions of dollars to transform Aston Martin from a midfield competitor into a championship contender. But his long-term vision requires a succession plan that ensures sustainable success beyond his direct involvement. Stroll's business acumen built a luxury fashion empire and later enabled him to rescue Force India from financial collapse. But leading a Formula One team to championship glory demands a different set of skills entirely. Horner brings precisely those qualifications that cannot be purchased regardless of financial resources. His championship pedigree includes overseeing 4 consecutive Constructors' Championships and multiple drivers' titles, demonstrating the operational excellence required to compete at Formula One's highest level. Beyond pure results, Horner possesses irreplaceable industry relationships cultivated over 2 decades at motorsport's pinnacle. His connections span team principals, technical directors, regulatory officials, engine manufacturers, and commercial partners throughout the paddock. These relationships facilitate everything from driver negotiations to technical partnerships, providing competitive advantages that extend far beyond trackside performance. However, Horner's potential motivation transcends professional ambition, carrying what industry insiders describe as a significant personal grievance against his former employers. After building Red Bull Racing from relative obscurity into a championship dynasty, his abrupt departure without graceful transition or public recognition of his contributions has created what many interpret as a desire for vindication through direct competition. The potential dream team assembly at Aston Martin represents a perfect storm of talent, resources, and motivation. Adrian Newey, arguably Formula One's greatest aerodynamics designer, has already committed to the project, bringing the technical genius behind Red Bull's most successful cars. Fernando Alonso provides the on-track excellence and championship experience necessary to maximize any competitive package, while Stroll's financial backing ensures no resource constraints will limit development potential. The Honda Works partnership beginning in 2026 adds another crucial element, as Horner previously orchestrated Red Bull's successful relationship with the Japanese manufacturer during their championship-winning period. His understanding of Honda's corporate culture, engineering philosophy, and operational requirements could prove decisive in optimizing the new power unit regulations.